I really got to change that bursting with energy part, because I'm not bursting with energy all the time. I have bursts of energy and then I have bursts of no energy. So let's be clear. Welcome to The Truth is Funny. I am so honored to be your host on Colette's show every third Wednesday of the month. My intention is to provide information, science, experiences, and stories that may serve as a foundation for your ever evolving emergence of your true nature. Our explorations are intended to enliven within you your own capacity to transform. So please join us. We'd love for you to call in, questions, comments, say, no way, I don't believe what you're saying. We love it. We take it all on. Every opinion, every thought, everything matters. Everything counts. You have value. Share it with us. The number is 1-800-930-2819. I am thrilled with the guest that I managed to attract yet again here on the Truth is Funny. Her name is Sufen, and I'm again going to let you pronounce your last name because I'm just afraid I will torture it, and that the fear in me won't even allow it to come out. So people, we're going to have to let her say her last name for you because it's got a lot of letters in it from my small American brain. But Sufen is an ex-corporate executive with AIG and Marsh Group who left her successful corporate career to become a full-time mother. After her tragic loss and health crisis, Sufen credited the BodyTalk System for her quick recovery of disease without drugs. Her healing journey led her to learn the BodyTalk System. This is Sufen's second time on the show. The first time on the show, I implore you to please listen to that. It was one of the most moving hours I've experienced being the host of this show since I started. Sufen shared what most of us would consider that are mothers, the worst experience that could ever happen to us. And in the most raw experience and truth that invites all of us to kind of hold a wider perspective of every experience that happened. And we're here to have her back today to talk about the power of the mind. It's been so inspiring me continually to watch Sufen's career explode. She's one of the most successful coordinators of the BodyTalk System, continues to have these ginormous classes that constantly have me going, okay, how can I do this better? You know, those people that just inspire you by what they do. Not to mention the pictures she can make. She's got the meme thing down like there's no tomorrow. And she is, ever growing list of things that she teaches and instructor of. But today we're here to talk about the Mindscape, which she will tell us more about. But all I can preface you with is the incredible power of your mind. And why would that be inspiring and exciting to explore? Well, as someone who comes from medicine, here's the thing, your mind is always with you. So it is always available as a tool, whether you are lost in the woods, on the beach, and you forgot your snacks, and you forgot your oils, and you forgot your stones, and you forgot your Tylenol, or whatever it is that you need to make something change. You have your mind with you. Our head, well, generally, if it's detached, you're not functioning too well anyway. So this is an incredible opportunity for all of us to rewire this idea that we need something other than what we already have in our natural makeup to create change. Sufen, welcome to the show, and throw us out there a couple times, 3 times in a row. How do you say your last name?
Hi, Karen. Thank you for having me again. My name is Sufen Paphassarang.
Yeah, see, it sounds so beautiful. Yeah, see, give it to me one more time.
Sufen Paphassarang. Paphassarang? Yeah.
Paphassarang.
And I love the name of your show, actually. The Truth is Funny, because you are funny and humorous, and you bring out so much life, actually, into this whole thing. From the last talk that we had, it was a little bit more, not so much fun and humor, but Mindscape for me has always been about fun, humor, laughter. And it really coincides with The Truth is Funny here, because we're going to talk about the truth about the mind and everything that we have yet to grasp, we have not looked at in a different perspective and different way, and how we can use actually laughter, fun, and imagination to change our lives.
That is so, I don't even know how to say it, because, you know, as a child, right, we're chided, using your imagination and get right to work. And I've had these discussions with parents, you know, in the school, like, what are they doing all these frou-frou imagination things? They need to get to work. They need to, you know, they need to produce something. So here I'm going to say, what? You're telling me the imagination is this source of power that can create change? How so? Are you kidding me?
Absolutely. So, you know, like you said you follow me on the BodyTalk System Facebook page, and I have all these pictures, sometimes weird videos that I post, and I try to do things that are not the same because I have I get bored easily. But one of the things that I've realized is that the more I don't do anything, the more I stop, the more imagination comes in, and the more ideas actually brings me into creating new content, new visuals, and even the way I teach my classes evolves and changes as well. So being quiet, being bored, being able to give ourselves the opportunity to not do anything, which in this day and age, it's very difficult not to be busy. And when we are able to come back to the mind and just be still, and that's where everything comes alive again.
It's funny you say that, because I'm located in New York, and I would say one of the things that this COVID experience has actually done is taken away all of our go, 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 do, do, do. And there's this huge emergence of parents paying teenagers to babysit their children of varying ages. That never used to happen, right? Those kids would have been in organized, you know, very formal summer programs that they would have, you know, had very structured lives. And here, you know, even my son's involved in it. And they, you know, the group came by yesterday because they kind of go from yard to yard. It's incredibly informal. I was so lit up watching, you know, these four boys of all varying ages laughing over playing cards. Then they run, you know, on the trampoline and play on the train. You know, it's mind-blowing how little it happens in our modern day world. And here you are telling me it's a pathway that opens up, if I hear you correctly, new discoveries, right? Which is, wow, new discoveries. Like we almost, I feel like there was a period of time in my life where I didn't necessarily even see the value of new discoveries because I was, you know, sort of on this very solid road to get degrees and to learn everything that other people already know. You know, I need to become a master of physics. I need to become a master of the human body. I need to be able to name the bones and name the muscles. But, you know, here what we're talking about is the value in what we often don't focus on, which keep taking it away, right? Because this is like this doesn't have a name, right? What would you call the best name for it? Imagination, unknown?
I would look at it as it's always been there, but you've not looked for it. So how I look at Mindscape, you know, the course I teach, is that we all have it, like you mentioned, we all have it within us. Intuition, imagination, everything is all there. How then are we able to remove those filters, whatever's blocking us from reaching it? So I come from a space whereby you come for the class to look at yourself as you already have it, not that you need to learn it. So if you already have intuition, you already have imagination, let's look at what is stopping you from using it, to enhancing it. And when we take off the filters and all the blocks that are stopping people from reaching there, it's a lot easier to transform people in a way whereby you have it, so let's now tap onto it, rather than let's help you to learn this. And if people have that mental blockage of, I can't learn something, maybe I'm not gifted enough, maybe I just don't have it, the limitations are then set forth already. So I come from a space that if you already have it, and we're all born with it, let's just look for it right now.
I feel like I have to pause. You're not supposed to have too much space in radio, but right. I mean, that is so beautiful. But you know, it's already there. Let's just look for it. I think the other thing that what I love about this course and the things you're talking about is I think many of us think of, you know, accessing intuition and accessing that space requires being in the crisscross applesauce position on a mat, right? That there's, you know, and that it's associated, well, I need my mat and I need my, and it sounds like, you know, here, these people, your students, what you are offering, where these people came from, I don't know. Apparently it's
Yeah,
your
and when you
community.
look, and when you look at all the pictures, everyone's sitting on these mats. Everyone have their legs crossed, and we look like we are meditating, but we are not. So
Yeah.
a lot of people think that they're coming from meditation class, but it's absolutely not that. We don't have another way to line up the students to take a different picture. And what happens in the classes is that, yeah, people come and then we go into what I call the inner world. So we have to close our eyes so that we don't get distracted from everything around us. And that's why it looks like we're meditating, but what we're actually going into is a state of the mind called the alpha mind. And in that state, comparing to all the other states of mind, this state of mind is where visualization is at the highest. And when there's so much coming in, you know, we are so used to visual inputs from our electronics, iPads, TV, and everything that moves around so quickly in our lives. Closing our eyes just helps us to focus, because Mindscape is a focusing tool that allows us to hone in on what I call focusing in what I call tunnel focus into something that you want to look for, something that you are trying to achieve in your life. So when we go into the alpha mind in Mindscape, yes, we are usually sitting, you can sit on a chair or sit on the mat cross-legged, or you can sit with your legs straight, or you can lie down, which is not encouraged because people tend to fall asleep because it's so relaxing. And when we come into that space, we are literally honing in on our tunnel focus to help us to come into alignment and stillness of the mind, to then look at what is it we need to understand to make changes in our lives into what I call potential, power, being, and confidence.
Power and being. You know, it sounds not so active. Yet what you're making very clear is maybe on the outside, it doesn't look so active, but there's a whole lot of activity that can happen with our eyes closed, whether we're sitting or meditate, you know, in a meditation pose, or right. I mean, I've taken this class, so I'm pretending a little bit that I don't know, but I mean, like, what I love about it is that it can be used walking in the woods, right? Like, I mean, you get to the point where you get so good at it, at entering that state, and it becomes recognizable. I think there's a lot of people that, like you said in the beginning, associate that state with what happens right before they go to sleep. So their wiring has them go right to sleep, where we can train that to sustain. Would that be accurate or no?
Yeah, I always say to students, don't get hung up on the theories of it. Let's just look at two states. You ask yourself, and you have two check boxes. Check on yourself. Are you awake? You tick, so you're not sleeping, you're awake. Yeah.
Well,
Number two. Number two.
That doesn't appear to be a difficult question, but there's some moments,
No.
especially since COVID-19, where that gets blurry. Am I awake? I don't know. Do I look awake? Okay, I'm awake. All right.
Right. And the other question I ask, okay, you're awake. Are you relaxed? How relaxed are you? And these are the only two checklists I ask my students to ask themselves to know whether they are in that zone. Because we can think, we always over question ourselves. We always over question ourselves. Are we in that state? Are we in that zone? Are we able to get the information? And the overthinking of it creates what I call the logical mind coming in to say, hey, Karen, that's just not it. You are not there yet. You need to maybe go through the steps a little bit more. You have to do this, you have to do that. We are so wired to think
Well,
that we are
wait,
not.
if you want to accurately represent my inner critical voice, you need to be a little harsher.
Yeah.
That was a little too soft and gentle. If you really want to be my inner critic, you need to like have a little more firmness to your voice. I don't know if anybody else's inner critic kind of yells at them quite like that, but yeah, right.
So Karen, you're not good enough. You didn't do the 18 steps correctly and properly. Now go back and do it again. We always, especially in Singapore, where I come from. Yeah, where we come from in this educational system whereby we are so logical, we're so left brain. We have to accomplish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before you can go to 6. And if you didn't do 3, you have to go back to 3 again before you can come back to 6 and then go to 7 and 8. And that is very I would say that it makes people think that they're always wrong. And what we do with Mindscape is we are challenging you to skip the steps. That if you miss a part of it, just check, are you still awake? That means you've not fallen asleep. Number 2, can you hear my voice? Are you still awake? Number 2, are you relaxed? And if you're not, take another deep breath and continue the steps again until you reach what we call the workshop, the Mindscape workshop. So, Mindscape is what I call a class that helps us to work on going into a space that we built in our minds in order for us to use that as a focusing tool. It's a very structured way to get a focusing tool that we can use in our minds. And from there, we then look at what we can do with our minds to change life, to enable us to make better decisions, enable us to look into what our limitations are, or what the potential of what we can be as a human being. And it's been very enriching to teach this class, because I have been a student and coordinator for so long. And when I started teaching this class, I usually would pick on students who like to comment things like, I don't think I have intuition. I don't think I can see things. I don't think I can manifest anything. Or I don't think I have that power to imagine a different life. So when we have students like that in class, it is very exciting for me.
Those are the people you were put here, right? or perhaps is that reflecting an aspect of you years ago? Is that?
I like that, because we have the last exercise in class where we test and we measure the accuracy of the intuition. Okay, and if I were to pick a student that's actually feeling confident, all the other students are, this person has it. If I were to pick you and you've done this before, you're actually very intuitive, you're going to say, now other people are going to say, oh, Karen has this gift, so she was able to do it. But I like to pick the student that is struggling to perform this test, to measure how we can use the power of mind. So we had this class, and the student was, all she said for the entire 2 days was, I can't see anything, I can't pick up anything, my brain is numb, I just can't get into it. And then I said to her, okay, we're going to do this exercise because I want you to really get into this. I want to show you that you can do it. So we go into what we call the imagination. If you cannot see it, and you cannot hear it, and you cannot what we call frame it, and cannot put in words what is it that we are trying to get you to show, then I want you to imagine what the object is. If there is an object, what would that look like? If there is a person, what would that look like? And I want you to then just take that imagination and create it, and create a person, create an object, create something. What would that be? And so the person comes into the, oh, I'm just going to just create and imagine and just not bother whether or not I'm right or wrong. And they start to verbalize everything that they think that they're creating in their minds. But the exercise then comes in to show people that when we imagine it, it's actually as accurate as intuition. Because in science, we look at the brain, you know, when we have an intuitive sense of something, a part of the brain lights up. And in imagination, it's the same parts of the brain lights up, whether you are imagining something or you have an intuitive sense of something. It is the same thing. It cannot be removed. It cannot be separated. Imagination and intuition, they are the same thing. And therefore, if we want to get in touch with our intuition, we have to get in touch with our imagination, because imagination is the only thing that we need in our lives right now to create a life of something that we can envision in the future. Because we are all here to come into what we call a vision and a goal of a purpose that we are here to live. And what then would that goal be? And if you cannot even envision that goal and allow that imagination to take you there, where is the mental flexibility of getting to where you want to be in the future? So this class is very much about helping people to see that we are sufficient in ourselves.
I love that, sufficient in ourselves.
And with that, we're able to take everything that we have learned, our experiences, everything that is part of us that makes us unique, and use that uniqueness into creating a life that's meant for you. A lot of people go for course after course, class after class to learn something, but not being able to integrate that information into life and into any, I wouldn't say use, but making it work for you, you know, integration. And Mindscape is one of those things that you learn it, you understand it, you can use it immediately, and life changes after that, because we are not looking at what you're lacking. We are looking at what you have, and what you also have that you've not looked at. Combine it all together, and let's then look at what potential you then can create and imagine in the future to allow your life to become much bigger for you and everyone around you.
I think, well, there's so many things that you hit on that are so very powerful, but someone who comes from medicine, that construct of not looking at what you are lacking is like a 360 or 180, whichever one you want, you know? I mean, it's like a complete reversal of the mindset and the lens I was taught to view the human through. Okay, what's wrong? And when we go to a doctor, we talk about what's wrong. You know, when we go to a psychiatrist, we talk about what's wrong. When we're with our friends, we talk about what's wrong. We talk about what we're not doing. And here you literally are saying, you know, if that's not attractive enough, you know, come and spend a weekend where we're not going to look at what you're lacking. We are actually going to amplify, emphasize, and grow your connection to all that you already are. And then you're going to hone a skill that helps you tap into that regularly. And then I'm going to add my own in here. And then the magic happens, right? Like, I mean, that's my own experience with using this technique, is you start to realize that the other word I love that you used was mental flexibility. I don't often hear those words put together, yet the power of having flexibility of the mind, and then becoming aware that our patternings don't allow us necessarily to have flexibility of the mind, which is what has us keep going towards that same goal that we don't get, right? And so do we need to change the goal, or is that we need to look at a part of ourselves that is actually not believing that goal can ever happen, right? Like, and would you say those are some of the things that are addressed in the workshop?
Yeah, it's addressed in the workshop, because we are also not just going to look at how to be positive. It's not a positive class. I'm not here to make you cycle yourself that I am good, I am the best, and I am, just trying to be positive. It's not that. You can go to another class for that. I don't rah-rah you into that way. Instead, I look at fear.
I'm going to stop you right here just because we have to take a break. And I love this, right? Because if we're not looking at the negative and we're not really looking at the positive, here you're going to get really clear on what we are looking at, right? Which is very exciting. So we're going to be right back. You are with Karen Betten on The Truth is Funny on Transformation Talk Radio, and we will be right back. Feel free to call in 1-800-930-2819, and we'll see you in a moment. So you are listening to The Truth is Funny on Transformation Talk Radio. I am a regular host for Colette's show. By the way, I want to give credit to Colette. That's her name, Truth is Funny, right? She was, I was honored to be invited. She was funny. Yes. Well, I was honored that she invited me in to participate in her creation. And I, like you, resonate with the name very much. And perhaps it brings out that part of my personality. So my guest today is Sufen
Paphassarang.
Paphassarang. I'm getting better. It's so beautiful. Good. I don't want to torture it. Okay. So Sufen, would you please share your contact information before we get any further, in case we've already inspired a load of people to come to your classes? Are they available online or just in Singapore right now? Or are you doing both?
It's online. My next class is actually this Friday. We're on a 12-hour time difference. So right now it's like 11:35 a.m. your time. Over in my world, it's 12 hours ahead. I'm 11:35 p.m. here. So I have a class coming Friday, but it's at 6 p.m. my time. So it's 6 a.m. over where you are.
Well, some people, that's their height of participation in the world, is from 6 p.m. until 3 a.m. So maybe they could join you.
So if you are awake, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 6 to 10 p.m. for me, 6 to 10 a.m. for you. And it's just a 3-day class. Where you can find me will be on my website. Is www. The name of my company is called Release. So release.com.sg. So www.release.com.sg, and all the information is on the website.
Fabulous. So we're just going to bring the audience, background. I feel like we might have left you hanging a little bit because we're not focusing on what you're lacking, but we're clearly not just focusing on the positive, trying to build up, you're amazing, you're perfect, you're great. So even my mind, who has taken this class, goes, wait a minute, so what are we doing then? And you started to address the approach about fear, but I'm going to hand it back to you. Tell us what is there besides what's wrong and what's right?
Right. So when we look at anything that they like to achieve, there will always be fear and doubt that comes in first to say, no, Karen, you're going to be really crap at this. No, Karen, you didn't look at this. Maybe, you're not in that wavelength, you're not in that, everything that you need to be up there. So the fear comes in, and the fear and doubts come in. That's the first line of our natural instincts to run away from, our potential. And what happens is, when we go into that fear or the doubt, the fear goes into what we call the amygdala complex in the limbic brain, and it stops us from, it goes into what we call the fight, flight, and freeze mode, which means that you are not able to move on from what you dream you like to do. But what I teach in my class is this. I want you to take up all those fears, look at them, identify them, list them down one by one, and just naming the fear will tame the fear. So we do this game whereby name it to tame it, because the moment we're able to label it,
the moment to tame it. I have to put a dance to it because I like it. Name it to tame it. Yeah.
So when we name it to tame it, it moves from the amygdala complex into the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is our higher brain. We are able to have empathy, whereby we empathize with where we are, what our limitations are, but yet we're able to have that creativity, imagination, intuition to bring us to where we want to be. So we name the fear, we convert it from being stored in the amygdala, which is where the fight flight responses are, moving it to the prefrontal cortex, which is the higher brain that allows you to then work its way into the operation, the movement into doing it.
Potential, right? Yeah. Well, we have a caller, which is always an exciting, journey. So, Zach, would you bring in the caller, and we'll see if what direction we go with this. Exciting.
Absolutely. We have Julie from Ontario.
Hi, Julie. Welcome to the Truth is Funny. What can we do for you?
Yeah, I just would love to, I kind of hit a wall with caregiving with my parents and wanting to move forward.
Caregiving, right? There's a lot of us in that role, in the last 3 months, whether we think there's nothing wrong and then we watch the TV and we think we need to care give ourselves or our family. It's a real big theme. Let's just kind of put a little bit of a more concreteness around this. When you think about hitting a wall in caregiving, where do you feel it in your body?
Now I don't feel it, but it's been coming up as frustration and anger. Maybe my gut, my heart.
Your gut and your heart, yeah. But it's funny. You're just connecting with us. You scan and you're like, wait, it's not there. I've had that experience as well. As soon as you tap into someone who's holding space for you, which is what we were kind of just speaking of, Sufen, right? To be exactly where you're at, right? Like there's no need to be anywhere else. There's no need to feel anything different. Your wisdom taps into that and things start to change immediately because the cells start to vibrate on that frequency of acceptance might be the word, or neutrality. I don't know. Maybe you have another word, Sufen. But do you have anything that you would like to add to this, Sufen? Or, there's many different. Go ahead, just pipe in when you feel something. It's interesting how external environment can impact our own ability to connect to our own insight, right? As to what the most powerful path for us to take is. And I'm right now just sort of checking in, and that really is what comes up as a primary factor that is influencing your connection to your essence, right? To the truth of you, to your wholeness, right? That, I love that analogy that there's the ocean, right? Which everything is in the ocean, and then the wave comes and it appears to be separate for a period of time, but it contains everything that's in the whole. And there's an element of our wholeness that we all identify with in our heart, right? When you say, I am Julie, you don't usually point to your stomach or point to your brain, right? Or you might. I shouldn't make assumptions. Right? You point to your heart. Would you agree?
Yeah, most of us do that.
Julie, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you point to your heart?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So there's an awareness that there's a aspect of our wholeness that we hold in there, but sometimes we start to identify with these stories that we make up with ourselves, and then we disconnect from that wholeness aspect, that we are the whole ocean in some way, which means we can always tap back into the ocean to look for any of the particles or parts or energies or things that we feel might support us in this moment, which maybe that would even be what Mindscape is on some level. So I just sort of energetically want to observe the impact that everyone else in the world is experiencing with relationship to overwhelm, with caring for others. And just by merely observing that and literally envisioning it aligning with your body in a different way, right? And I ain't saying clearing it. I'm just sort of saying, you know, that wholeness part of you starts to align with it differently. And that's what I have to offer. So with that, you could even try tapping on your chest. This is something that we do on BodyTalk, which just sort of fixes that new frequency and invites it into the heart energy, which we already said sort of stores the essence of you, the wholeness of you that we sometimes disconnect from. And then I would ask you to take a deep breath in and out, and then sort of check in. And does it feel the same or does it feel different?
I mean, it feels different. I feel like bringing up happy.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. You broke up a little bit. You feel what?
Bringing up something that's been pulling at my heart.
Yeah. And so the key piece to notice is, number one, this will continue to ripple out, right? Like you're dropping a rock in the lake and it just keeps rippling out and out. So this change in relationship to other people's energies that might have been amplifying your own experience with overwhelm. And we've merged that more deeply with a connection to your wholeness, which is not a mental construct at all. It's just a frequency, right? Which seems strange, but it is. And how that will continue to ripple out and change. And then doing things like this Mindscape course that Sufen teaches, you know, gives you the skills to continue to amplify your own ability to create these subtle little changes that ripple out and manifest in ways that your life changes. Like funny things can happen where you get an assistance or you start to see support in a way that you had never seen it before, whether that's physical support or internal support or whatever it might be. Sufen, do you have anything?
Yeah, probably I'll be going on a break soon. Maybe after the
Yes.
break, I'll come in and I would share something that maybe Julie, you could pick from there. It will address issues like that, but on a global level.
Julie, can you hang on to the break and we'll come back?
Yeah.
All right, that sounds awesome. I'm excited. I can't wait to hear it. All right, so you are listening to Karen and Sufen on The Truth is Funny. Sufen is this amazing Mindscape instructor. She's teaching us all about this incredible wealth of potential that lies within our own mind. And we're going to be right back as we finish up our amazing experience together. Thank you all for joining us. And thank you, Julie. We'll be right back. Hello, this is Karen, and we're back on The Truth is Funny. That's, you know, I'm here every third Wednesday of the month. My guest is Sufen Paphassarang. It's so beautiful, Paphassarang. It's, come on, give it to me.
I'm Sufen Betten today.
Sufen Betten, I know, see my American limitation. So we've been speaking about the power of the mind and all the opportunity that exists and potential that exists in there with Sufen, who is a Mindscape instructor, among many other things, but that's for another show. So we had on as our call-in was Julie, and Julie had expressed feelings, you know, frustrations, anger, you know, around caring, you know, the caregiver role that she has been doing. And we spoke about, you know, one factor, which is the amplification of those feelings and sensations coming from a resonance from everyone else in the world that is experiencing that as well. And then Sufen had some insight that we were now revisiting after our break. And Julie, are you still there with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Sufen, take it away.
Okay, so caregiving, okay, it's one of those things that everywhere in the world, it hits us globally because we take care of everyone except ourselves. And when we think about how much time we put in to take care of ourselves, we have very little of that. And when that happens, and most people are depleted to start with when they have to take care of someone else. And the overwhelm then comes into, you know, emotions like frustration. Frustration literally means that something is there that's not moving. So in Mindscape, what we do with situation with what I call relationships, and this relationship can be with anybody. We go into a space whereby we connect with the, you know, the people that you're taking care of, people that you care for and you love, and we then go into that what we call perspective of understanding what is it that they need and they want, and where we can then come together to bridge that gap and to provide. Because being a caregiver, literally you're providing, being there to do something for them. And when we go into depletion because we have done too much, or things are just not moving, there is no change happening. The frustration can be on many different levels, but what we do with Mindscape is helping us to understand the perspective from the other side. And then we share our thoughts on what's how our limitations, or we share our thoughts of how our frustrations have contributed to any conflict that is in the relationship. And we resolve it by understanding through the mind and through being in that space, whether you're meditating or whether you're just being quiet on your own, to understand the dynamics of the relationship, and then take a look at what course of actions is needed. Number one, to take care of yourself first. Number two, anything that you need to change or to keep the same. Number three, look at what is it that we can, as human beings, you know, being able to empathize and to give in love. Because love is something that we always think that we have to show love and give love by doing all these things. But love has to come back to us. Therefore, if you were to do something, or if I were to do something for Karen because I love Karen, I have to do it in a way whereby I get something back in return. For example, you know, I want to buy you, Karen, a box of chocolates, because when I give you something and your smile and your happiness gives me back in what we call the exchange. And that is enough for me. When you care for somebody and you're doing all these things, from washing the clothes, from cooking and doing the dishes, whatever it is that you do, and there is no smile, there is no gratitude, or, you know, there is nothing that comes back to you, that depletion then can move into frustration. So I would say to you, you know, and say to whoever's listening out here, if there's something that you feel frustrated about in the relationship, look into what is it that they actually really want, and look at what you can then give that would make you happy to do. Because if we do it out of duty and responsibility, most of the time we go into resentment. So do it only because you know that it will come from your heart, and be able to say no when you don't feel like you can do it, because saying no takes care of yourself and brings you into a different space whereby you are there to take care of yourself. And that's my few cents to that. I hope that
I'll give one little add in there, Julia. I took a very a sound healing workshop, and the man had a great sense of humor. I don't know if you've ever heard of Tom Kenyon, but he's a beautiful voice and he does all these, whatever, it was amazing. But he started off the workshop and he said, I don't know if you guys know, but I want to really impart some deep wisdom on you. And he's like, and that is that the word no is a complete sentence. You need nothing after no. And it hit me. I just started cracking up because, you know, you think about, I think particularly the female persuasion, we feel that no needs to be followed with lots of other justifications and things. And it's a little bit of humor, but it's like checking in with yourself on occasion with that no, and what would it be like to really honor that as a complete sentence in and of itself. And interestingly, when we honor our own boundaries, weirdly and powerfully, the people around us start to honor the same thing within themselves, and the whole dynamic starts to change. And I know that that can also become a little bit of a burden, like, oh, it's all on me that has to change. And I would just invite you, because that has happened to me, right? I'm a nurse, nurse practitioner. I've been in the caregiving world for, a living. And that is a tough challenge, to see yourself as a powerful being with opportunity side by side, feeling overwhelmed by that responsibility of caring for yourself. And, like Sufen addressed that as well. So Julie, do you have any other questions, comments, feedback on where we're at right now?
Yeah, I mean, those things that everything said, I've already internalized before. I guess it's affirming my no.
Yeah. And then playing with perhaps, offering a platform on which you can integrate with your own intuition to find the solutions that are most deeply aligned with your truth, right? Not necessarily my truth or Sufen's truth, but your truth, and that there are so many ways to do that. So Julie, thanks so much. But next month, I'm going to have a guest on where we're actually going to be addressing that from her perspective as well. She's was on last month. So perhaps we'll hear from you again next month. Julie, thanks so much for calling in and being on The Truth is Funny. And oh my goodness, time is so fast. We're at the end. Did you go like turn the time clock up on me, Sufen, in your Mindscape workshop, and boom, it's over? Wow, what a joy. I want to thank the community for being here and showing up, that we have an audience to talk to and explore and experience. I want to thank you, Sufen, for joining us with your incredible wisdom. That your voice alone just brings me to this beautiful place of trust that I think was reflected in Julie saying the minute she connected to us, wow, it feels different already. And you can tell that you've done the work. I put that in quotes if you can see me on video, right? Because it's not really work. It's curiosity, it's exploration, it's imagination. And I highly recommend the course that Sufen teaches among all the other courses she teaches, which she's now a fundamentals instructor for BodyTalk, which is a wealth of opportunity. She's a BodyTalk Access instructor, just like myself. So I just want to thank Carter and the Truth is Funny community. Colette will be back next week. Sufen, any last words?
I love you guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'll be listening on to your show the next few weeks and being with you.
Thank you, Sufen. We're going to definitely have her back, no doubt. This was just too much fun. And thanks again to Julie. Colette's back next week and Wednesday, 8 a.m. Bye for now.
Goodbye.
The wave thing is funny. Who am I waving to?